AudioLab devlog number 11. This is probably going to be a huge mess, so bear with me. Basically what I did for the last 3 weeks was I picked out some particularly stubborn and annoying items from my to-do list and tried to just break them off and get them done. Neither is actually fully done, but I at least made some progress toward both, and I have basically almost nothing to show and talk about. So I'll do what I can. Big new thing is this menu bar here. I have a story to tell about it, but the story starts somewhere else. Okay, so these buttons still exist for now on this screen. I haven't gotten rid of them yet. Basically, the big items on my list were that I wanted pull-down menus to replace this big messy pile of buttons that used to be here and is now organized in sub-menus, kind of. And another thing is I've sent this program to a couple of people, and something I realized about it is that AudioLab always wants to operate at 44 kilohertz output, 44100. But most computers these days seem to prefer 48 kilohertz, and I don't know, there's this big weird argument I saw online about which one is better for various different things. But anyway, I wanted this program to be able to operate at various different sample rates just to match whatever the audio hardware or operating system or user preferences dictates. So I had a lot of assumptions in all of my audio code about what sample rate it's going to operate at and how many channels and, the exact number of bytes per sample, all those things. It was kind of a mess. It still is. Audio plays. There's that little artifact at the start. I'm trying to switch audio APIs on Windows also because this one has too much latency and does some stuff I don't like that little artifact at the start you heard the first time I played this. Anyway, yeah, so audio APIs are a big mess. It works better on Linux now, at least, but that's not where I'm recording, so you're not seeing the fruits of that labor. Anyway, so, right, sample rates. Completely invisible, can't even show what the work that I was doing with that, so it's a bunch of work. I was doing it. That's about all I can say about it. But so this other thing, let's just click this button for now and explore sounds. This file here. So I was trying to get some insight into what it is that's going on with these waveforms. This weird, up and down here, all this dirtiness that I'm seeing on in between states instead of just a clean, straight line. So one of the first things I did to try to get some insight into that was I implemented vertical zoom and scroll on this thing so that I can really zoom in here and see what the waveform actually is in places like this. This doesn't actually tell me a whole lot other than that, yeah, there's some data there. I don't really know what to make of it. There's not a lot of samples here. This is the space of one sample here. But at least, I can get in and look at it closer and see. So, there's a bunch of bounce back when the square wave comes all the way up here. Less on the output there. And then this almost sine wave looking pattern, but there's multiple frequencies in here. So yeah, I haven't figured out what kind of analysis tools I need to build in here to work out why this sounds the way it is and how I can reproduce this sound, but that's sort of what I'm going toward. Anyway, so one of the things I wanted to be able to do was to add a whole bunch of, typical audio editor operations to this. One thing that I think might be sensible is to start with taking a selection like this and centering that vertically so that, put that down at the center line just so that I could isolate from the isolate the square wave from the other interference, or something else just to get rid of the square wave part of this and hear only the other stuff. I don't know as much about audio stuff, how audio editors work in general to speak fluently about this, but anyway, so this is part of my education. I'm learning as I do this. But anyway, I wanted some way to organize that didn't involve piling up a whole bunch more buttons here, so I tackled another item from my to-do list, which was to add an actual menu bar here to make this act like a real program instead of this weird, messy thing with the buttons down there that was unsustainable. So I went over to this other, this little UI test bed that I've shown a few times and started building a general-purpose menu bar widget. I could maybe... I don't know, I thought about having this use some kind of like system menu sort of thing, you know, like something that actually fits in with the system UI, uses the actually, I don't know if Sublime Text, the example I'm using here, implements its own menus or does something else. I don't know. Anyway, but I decided to just make my own widget to fit in with the other stuff that I've implemented here, so all the buttons and things. So yeah, this prints out when I poke something to tell me what callbacks are getting called. So the menu, the way menus work is I initialize these with, just for fun, yeah, so let's look at how my UI code works. In the UI toolkit test harness, which is what I'm running there, that's unit test. Where am I? Unit test. I missed UI toolkit. Test harness.c. UI menu bar is the name of that widget. Okay. Take me here. Show me the menu. I initialize a bunch of structures that give menu item titles, unique identifiers, whether they're enabled, whether they're checked, what their key shortcuts are, if the key shortcuts have any extra modifiers, and if there's a submenu attached. So this can do, you know, most of the typical stuff that a menu system would do, but it does it my own way. So when I click a menu to open it, or, you know, hold down the mouse, there's like an interval here where it'll consider this to be that kind of operation, you know, mouse down, drag, mouse up, or if I just click, then it stays up until I make another mouse down. All these little nuances. Anyway, so it first calls a callback to validate each menu item in case at the last minute I want to like read an instance variable and say, okay, this thing's title actually has this random number after it, or like just in case there's like dynamic stuff that has to be calculated for the state of the menus. So every time I open this and close it, there's a different number here, and this is enabled or disabled or checked, just to test out all the stuff. Anyway, yeah, and then when I choose an item, it outputs an action there. So this took a lot of effort. Control 3, there we go. Okay, so it animates to show that activated, and that item's now checked or unchecked, and the action goes through. So anyway, and then back over here in AudioLab, I customized it to the font that I use for everything else. I still want to replace this font at some point. It's okay, but it could be better. Oh, I don't like that. Mouse move events ought to be absorbed while this is open, instead of also being passed on to this. Okay. That's something that I want to do. Sure. Anyway, yeah, so this is probably not in its final form. A lot of these items are unimplemented. You know, if I wanted to, like, select this region and amplify that, I'd go here and click Amplify, and, you know, that'd pop up a dialog asking how much I want to amplify it. But none of that is there. Just the menus are. I can play. I can... none of these do anything. I can switch screens, so now you don't have to just know like the magic key shortcuts. You can look up here to find out what they are. There's no actual preferences screen yet. That's where you would change your audio sample rate, but it's not there yet. Right, undo, right, undo, edit samples. Yeah, so there's that dynamic menu item title. So now it tells me I can undo the edit samples, and it's enabled, and if I do that, it actually does it. I can redo edit samples, and we're going to add a thing in here where I can change which redo timeline I'm on. So like, if instead I do that, and I want to undo from here and redo back to that other thing that I did, I'd be able to access it. Anyway, copy, paste, sure. Anyway, so I have a menu. It was a lot of work to put together. Is that really everything that I have that I can show right now? Pretty much. Yeah, so working on some annoying stuff. It's partially finished and not very showy right now, and I kind of wish I were done with it, but this is important work that needs to be done. I need to clean this up and get rid of the rest of these buttons. I think I want my play button that I can click back, because like spacebar is noisy, and the noise of the spacebar kind of overtakes the first bit of the audio here, and I don't want to always come up here and do this to do that. So I'll add a play button back in there. Oh, all these little things. Kind of wishing I were working on a video game instead. So I'm kind of messing around on the side with various prototypes and things, and you know, it's nice to have some work that I can enjoy to go with the work that I don't enjoy that just needs to get done anyway. But so yeah, this is where I am. I'm working on stuff. Hopefully I'll have something more interesting to talk about later. But yeah, got to do the uninteresting stuff. So I'm just paying my debts right now, and I'll see you again some other time with more exciting stuff, I hope.